Well, we are hoping to go to an update from the Police Commissioner. He should be holding a briefing, hopefully in the next 10 minutes or so. We will bring that to you live as and when that happens. A little over an hour ago, we heard from the Prime Minister, and she said that this was a well-planned terrorist attack. She confirmed that 40 people are so far confirmed dead, with 48 others being treated in hospital for gunshot wounds. Well, joining us live now is Otago University's International Relations expert, Robert Patman. Robert, how would you describe what happened today?
Well, it's appalling, but it does show, I think, that some of the international trends we've seen have, if you like, overlapped and impinged on New Zealand. And there's been a tendency, of course, in New Zealand to think that we're just too far away from everywhere for this sort of thing to affect us. But I think this is a stark reminder that we are not immune to this type of terrorist violence.
It seems like no one was really obviously expecting this to happen. Were we all naive in thinking that this couldn't happen in New Zealand?
I think that you know, there is it's been evident for some time. We've participated in international operations after 9/11, and we participated in deploying troops to Iraq to help train forces there against forces which were Islamist, for example, ISIS. But I think there was a tendency to think that we weren't directly threatened. I think that what comes out of this incident is that people with access to the internet can be radicalised over the internet. This is an unfolding situation, so I better not comment on the situation in Christchurch. But what I can say is that we have seen some disturbing international trends in the last few years, and unfortunately, I think the incident, what we know about the incident in Christchurch, may be reflecting some of those trends. A rise in Islamophobia, and also we've seen in the last 2 or maybe 5 years, the rise of nationalist populism and intolerance, the targeting of particular groups of people who may, in the eyes of some, look different. And it's very important that New Zealand and many other countries stands very firm on the values of tolerance, liberal democracy and the rule of law. And unfortunately, we've seen from in some surprising quarters voices questioning some of these values recently. And unfortunately, there are people who take their cue from extremists, whether they be internationally located or even closer to home.
What are your big fears coming out of this event today?
Well, one of the fears I have is that we don't how should I put it, that it doesn't poison relations between the Islamic community and the rest of the community. I think most of us, if we can put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are the victims of this attack, they went into a place of worship, and many of them, when they left the building, were minus some of their loved ones. And of course, they're grief-stricken, but they will also feel a sense of anger. What have they done to justify that? And what we've got to do, and people are reaching out to them, we've got to continue to reach out to them and make it quite clear that the people who carried out these atrocities are not representative of the average Kiwi, and that they do not represent our views, and they're anathema to the New Zealand way of life. I think it's very important that we do this in the crucial period after this atrocity. What we don't want is for this atrocity to achieve what the perpetrators hope, which is a backlash from the victims, which will lead to a growing action-reaction spiral. And we do not want this, which is this beautiful country, New Zealand, we do not want that to happen.
And Robert, what is, if you look at other attacks, similar attacks, what is the risk in terms of the environment that it leaves behind? Do they normally happen in isolation?
Well, the difficulty there with the answer that question, Melissa, is we do not know to what extent this was internationally coordinated. We just don't have the data at the moment. I'm sure the intelligence people and the police are looking energetically into this, and it will depend whether this has been orchestrated from afar. but it would appear that there are extremist ideologies around, not just the ones that have struck in Christchurch, but elsewhere in the world. And we've got to be, I think the best rebuttal of extremism is to be firm in the defence of our values and our interests, which is liberal democracy and the rule of law. One of the reasons I think New Zealand may have been a tempting target is because we have actually been, if you like, a country which has been remarkably free compared with many other countries of these sort of incidents. And from an extremist point of view, we might be seen, unfortunately, as a notch under their extremist belts. So we need not to overreact. We need to build bridges amongst the communities affected by this. And we need, I think, to speak up internationally against those leaders who preach a doctrine of hatred. And it's important that New Zealand and other liberal democracies combat hostility towards immigrants, which is sometimes we see on display. And I think it's important that those who keep attacking international cooperation, some members of the White House, for example, have been attacking the WTO, attacking the UN. These are very important institutions to a country like New Zealand. We believe in an international rules-based order, and I don't think when it comes to things like that, we can take a step back. I think we have to look to other liberal democracies that we see eye to eye with, countries like Australia, Canada, and members of the EU, and Scandinavian countries, and we have to be quite clear that we want to combat extremism and make sure that we create a society where people can go about their business in a tolerant and lawful manner.
Thank you very much, Robert. That's Robert Patman, International Relations expert from Otago University. Well, we are expecting to be able to go to the Police Commissioner, Mike Bush. We've obviously got cameras standing by.